All right. Well, thank you very much, Jose, for joining us. That was a great rundown on some of the more exciting things going on at HHS right now. So right now we wanted to invite Chris Anello. Chris Anello up to the stage. Chris is the Federal Healthcare Advisory Solution Consultant for ServiceNow. And we want to talk a little bit about some of the work that ServiceNow is doing in this space, specifically with the VA. So Chris is focused right now on the VA, but during his 15 years working on IT, he's covered quite a few of the agencies. He's worked with Department of Labor, House and Urban Development, the Department of Education, and the Department of Interior. But now he's focused on the VA. And what we wanted to talk a little bit about is how his work with the new IT service portal. So Chris, could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so good morning, everybody. Beautiful view. A great venue. Thank you, guys. So the VA has embarked on a journey with ServiceNow really to transform how IT delivers services back to the business and really can be an enabler for the end users, these medical practitioners that are out in the field that require IT resources, but traditionally had to go to cumbersome process to get those. So 45 days ago, we modernized their IT back office help desk solution with ServiceNow, but the front end of that was the IT service portal. And it's really a portal almost like an Amazon-type experience where everybody, about 500,000 users, including contractors, employees, and VA staff, could go and request these IT services across the enterprise. So it wasn't business-specific or location-specific. It was really across the entire enterprise. Now, what this has allowed them to do is increase the speed and agility as to where IT can respond to those requests. Having it on a single platform, we talked earlier about analytics, the capability of once you have that data, how can we do that digital transformation, right? Bring that data together and say, what are the trends? What are the cycles we're going through? What are the most common requests we have? And then ServiceNow platform with our automation engine is what process can we automate to make it more efficient, right? Make that delivery process more efficient. So what's coming out next, and we're currently in development, is automating password reset and PIV exceptions. So imagine a doctor, a surgeon in the field who has to do surgery, and it's Monday, and he forgets his PIV card at home. And how many of you have forgotten your ID or your PIV card before, right? It happens. But this is a life-changing event, right? If it's surgery and you're scheduled, automating that process to reduce it to almost seconds or minutes, once that request comes in, is that doctor now can go in, have access to the systems they need, and be able to fulfill their job in the field. So really for ServiceNow, what's exciting is not so much fixing the back office, but really enabling our end users to have really that modern enterprise experience.
Absolutely. I think just talking to some of the government folks, who were interviewing over at Government CIO Media, is really excited about the automation side of that, really taking out some of the man hours from that. Can you talk a little bit about how some of the automation finds some of those efficiencies?
Yeah, definitely. So obviously you could leverage that analytics once you put in your business processes on ServiceNow and using that workflow engine just to kind of have a platform to manage your process, your approvals, maybe your different teams where things have to go to, and then looking back and saying, okay, which of these processes, and I think we talked about that earlier in the blockchain conversation, is once we find bottlenecks in our process, how can we add a layer of automation, right? So that people that are working with our organization are more focused on delivering towards the mission and less focused trying to hand jam data into 10 different systems, right? What systems can we retire or maybe remove from the process to automate in the back end? So we do have an automation engine behind ServiceNow. But something else that we're going into, ServiceNow is really a platform, is we've invested heavily in machine learning. So once we have that data in ServiceNow, we can run machine learning algorithms to find patterns, and then those patterns can allow us to say, we have something called agent intelligence. They can say, hey, these are the trends that are happening. Why don't you do this or this, and provide suggestions to the agents instead of having to do it manually, and try to figure it out every time.
Yeah, so even though ServiceNow is working with government agencies, and especially with the focus with federal healthcare that you're doing, a big focus is business outcomes still. Can you talk a little bit about how ServiceNow focuses on some of the IT transformation to result in business outcomes?
Yeah, definitely. I think IT is a partner to the business and to the agency, right? It shouldn't be a tax that you have to pay because IT is needed. And so what ServiceNow really allows to enable is give IT the right tools and power to become a partner with the business and say, how can we be an enabler to delivering our mission instead of being the cause of slowing down the process? And there's a lot of capability in ServiceNow, all the way from intake of requests, processing requests, and managing tickets and things like that. But really at the back end is that machine learning, those analytics, and that other capability that can elevate the conversation, say, okay, what are your business objectives? And then what KPIs, performance indicators, do we need to track to make sure we achieve those mission objectives?
Okay. Well, the IT service portal is extremely exciting, working with VA. Are there any other projects that really stand out that you're working, that you've heard of, you're worked with some of your colleagues at ServiceNow across the federal government?
Yeah, there's one really interesting with Forest Service. They use ServiceNow for, there's a program called the Smoke Jumper, and these are firefighters that have to jump into the smoke. So ServiceNow, they're automating the process of onboarding these firefighters when they have to. So when there's a disaster strikes, there's a portal they go into, they register, and we talked about identity, so if they're already registered in the system, very quickly can onboard these firefighters, put them out in the field in the line of action without having to wait through these long process of onboarding. And then once it's over, the offboarding process, right? Get them off and give them the benefits they need after the after process as well.
One of the themes that we're going to talk about a lot today is digital transformation. How does the platform that ServiceNow provide really, I guess, make that go even faster?
So, I was reading some books about it's called Going Digital. It's really talking about how big organizations would have large enterprise, and I think the federal government is included as having large enterprises, is how can we make that end user experience data rich, right? So how can I deliver services? So we were talking earlier about instead of walking, maybe take an Uber. So how many of you here have used Uber before, right? Or Lyft, right? Or even Waze. A lot of data is in those systems, and it's feeding you as a user. As I navigate through the cities, GPS, right, location, all that information is coming together to give me an experience. So we talk about the enterprise. Why can't we have that same experience in the enterprise? Why do we go to our offices and it's like 1990, right? With legacy systems and difficult processes to get through our day-to-day work. So what ServiceNow really enables is to bring, almost Uberize the enterprise, right? Bring all that data together. It could be third-party systems through our API integration, bring that data together, expose it in a delightful experience. So our Knowledge Conference was last week. We just announced a mobile designer so that we can have an enterprise mobile application for our business processes, right? Where I can manage my requests, my approvals, the things that I do every day, and an Uber-like experience on my mobile phone. So really is providing that digital transformation. We use digital data to transform the experience.
User experience is a huge focus throughout your career. Yeah. How have you seen that changed within government and the focus on it just in the past 5 years?
We're all facing a cliff, right? Millennials are the next generation of people that are going to come into our workforce. And we really need to attract those millennials to have a better experience working in the federal government. Their expectation is very different. They grew up with the internet. They grew up with a different experience. Now, as agencies, I think we have to start offering the same level of experience or expectation if we want to consume that workforce into our environments. And so I think that it's really something that we need to start thinking about. It's not just, is the data right, or is the process correct, or are we following the right regulations? It's also, what is that experience like to engage with our agencies?
Okay, last question.
Yeah.
Legacy systems is a huge challenge for a lot of government agencies. How can ServiceNow and some of the work that they're doing there help make that transition for some of those agencies focusing on it?
So Gartner just named us in the top quadrant of platforms for development. So we have point solutions. I talked about some today, HR onboarding and IT service management for IT. But you can also leverage the platform capabilities, so the machine learning, the workflow, and build your own applications on the ServiceNow platform. What this has allowed, like Department of State, has built a lot of applications on ServiceNow to service all of the embassies across the world, where every person that works in an embassy can submit a request. It could be a translator, it could be travel requests, process that same service portal experience, but now it's a consistent delivery process. And improving, retiring a lot of legacy applications they had into one single platform, single data model. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you very much,
Yep.
Chris. I'm going to invite to the stage Camille again, who will come back up, and she's going to be joined by Steve Posnack from ONC. ServiceNow for your support.